Before we get started with our Photoshop responsive web design and modern web design workflow, I'm going to show you and share with you some of the plugins and scripts we are going to need during this course. So let's have a look at them, and I'm going to show you both the free ones and the paid ones. Now from here on, I'm not going to explain everything. I know that you are expert at least at handling Photoshop. Okay, if you are not an expert, you should see my few other courses, which are UI design in Photoshop and typography for typography combinations and choosing the right font and typeface for your project. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to show you most of the time the free ones and the most important ones. We are going to need these during this whole course. Okay, so let's see what we have. Okay, now the first plugin I'm going to show you is this Uber Faces for showing avatar icons and people's faces, and you can bring different photos in Photoshop, for mostly the portrait ones and the avatars, into your UI design. Okay, similar is this one. This is basically randomuser.me, and Photoshop, they have Photoshop extension. You can download this one, the latest one. Then we have this ink. Okay, so it is going to be, we are going to generate specifications for our developers. Okay, you can see this example over here, the heights and width of elements and also the fonts. Okay, so you can see over here, it is going to show the fonts over here. And then we are going to need this Gridify. This is really the most needed plugin during my course. Okay, so we really need this one. Then you can also install this Font Awesome PS. Sometimes we need few icons from Font Awesome library, which is basically for developers and Bootstrap. Okay, for others I'm going to mention here are the plugins we don't really need, but they are awesome. One of them is this Guide. It costs $10 and it is one of the best I have seen for laying out your grids and guides. Okay, then we have this Subtle Patterns to bring different patterns in Photoshop. Then we have this CSS Hat too for bringing and using it for different CSS, instantly generating CSS colors, gradients for your Photoshop layers and elements. Okay, then for again developer specifications, you can see this is another one. These are called red line specifications. You can see over here. Okay, so mostly our developers need to know what are the distances between different elements from top, and what are the widths and heights of these elements like buttons. Okay, so this is one of them, but this is a bit costly. We are going to use this free one, Ink. Try to give my students the free plugins first, because I think you should not spend too much on purchasing plugins if there is a good free alternative. Okay, a few other plugins. This one also, it exports Photoshop layers, but we are going to use Photoshop export panel instead. So maybe if you like this one, or you design for iOS or Apple, then you can extract 2x or 3x output. Okay, for retina screens. And then we have few more plugins like this one. This is Rename, and this is for ZXP, I think. Sorry, it is for SVG files, exporting SVG files, mostly for icons. When you export SVG icons, they are going to expand and contract easily. They are vector shapes, and in HTML and programming, they are really going to help your developers. Okay, rather than exporting PNG files. Then we have a few more things I'm going to show you. Okay, now for the installation part of the plugins, I am going to show you some of the articles you need to know. Okay, so if you haven't seen my previous course, UI design in Photoshop, you really need to see it or take it. You are going to find the discount code for my other courses at the end of this course. So if you need to take it before taking this course, you should take it. Okay, in that course, I have shown you the whole process of installing different Photoshop CC plugins in Mac or even Windows operating system. and how you are going to use this ZXP installer to install different plugins, okay, in Photoshop CC 2017, and also how you are going to install it manually. I'm going to share these two links. Most of the time, try to read the instructions of any plugin you download, because I have seen a lot of my students who ask me questions, and when I tell them, have you read the readme file or installation instructions, and then they say, okay, oh, I forgot to read it, I am unable to install it, now I have installed it. Okay, so before you contact me or ask me questions, try to read the installation guide carefully and follow along the steps. Okay, these are all the plugins we are going to need. I'm going to repeat in the end again. The 4 or 5 plugins we really need is this Uber plugin, Uber Faces. Either you can use Uber Faces or this random user generator. Okay, I like this Uber Faces more. Okay, then we are really needing this ink and also this Gridify and this font awesome Photoshop. If you can get others, it's up to you, but I don't recommend spending too much on them. Okay, now let's move on to the next lesson, where I'm going to show you my setup of Photoshop interface. Okay, I'm going to go with a lot of speed, because all these things I have discussed in my UI design in Photoshop course, which is for basics and pro or even expert users. Okay, so let's move on to the next lesson.